Good morning, everyone. Welcome to FPC Radio Live. It's Friday. We are here ready to talk Week 15 in the NFL. Now, obviously, Week 15 got kicked off last night with the 49ers taking care of business against the Seahawks. I think I don't think many people picked the Seahawks to win that game last night. And I think, John, the longer we go and the longer we watch this 49ers team with Brock Purdy, my doubts in them making a run to a Super Bowl have not diminished because he seems to be able to handle whatever's kind of thrown at him right now because this offense and this team is just kind of they're just rolling on all cylinders.
They have the best defense in football. I truly believe that, whether it is statistically or not. Again, sometimes statistics can be misleading, but they have a sensational defense. Offensively, they didn't have Deebo Samuel last night. He'll be back late in the regular season into the playoffs. He's such a unique player. The addition of Christian McCaffrey has been a home run. Mm-hmm. He's just been sensational. You've got Brandon Ayuk, who's a nice number 2 wide receiver. And, oh, by the way, George Kittle's a top 5 tight end. And it might be the best all-around tight end in the sport when you incorporate the way he blocks. And they have a left tackle who's probably a future Hall of Famer in Trent Williams. So they are just loaded, right? So good place to play quarterback. And this kid's good. And I'll be honest with you, Ian, for some reason, like the 2017, 2018, 29, whatever seasons it was, I started to watch a lot of Iowa State football. I think because Matt Campbell was the head coach and I kept hearing that he was going to be an NFL head coach and he's still at Iowa State and has done a nice job. But I was always impressed with Brock Purdy. And I'm not a guy that gets impressed by those types of quarterbacks. You know my type, right? It's the guy with the exquisite talent who makes throws that make you jump out of your seat. This kid's a little bit different. They haven't missed a beat, right, on offense since he took over nearly 3 games ago.
Yeah, and Kyle Shanahan probably said it best, and this is what sticks out the most, is poise. Mm-hmm. Poise. The guy plays like he's a 10-year pro under center. And that can have such a calming influence, not only on, obviously, the quarterback, but the rest of the team. And you see that, like, I mean, that double pump fake, the execution of that, it was beautiful. It was beautiful because it was very, like, and my type, it's very structured, it's very mechanical, it's very, heady. That's what you want in a quarterback. And I believe based on the entire history of the league and the success teams have had with certain quarterbacks, well, that tends to be the one that, wins you the most games. And I think no one's putting Brock up at the top of the quarterback list. But for a team, like you said, that has unbelievable talent at all the key positions, John, not just great talent, but you talk about left tackle, you talk about tight end, running back, and not just, pound and ground running back. You're talking about all around pass catching running back, the most valuable position in that, position group in this current NFL. So you have everything there that you need to succeed. And again, we haven't even got to the defense, which, like you said, it's not about stats. It's about, we see the 49ers play defense, and they are clearly the best defense in the league. I don't care what someone's point per games are. That doesn't tell me anything. I want to see what I see each and every week, and that is a dominating unit, which is what you're getting in San Francisco, and about the only place you're actually getting that in this NFL. I mean, Buffalo's probably pretty close, but in terms of just pure domination on the defensive side, there's no team like the 49ers right now.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Bosa is unblockable. His brother's darn good, Joey Bosa, but Nick's even better. He's up for Defensive Player of the Year. I think he and Micah Parsons are probably the 2 front runners at this point. So you've got that elite pass rusher, tremendous speed on defense. It's built on a lot of speed. Fred Warner is one of the best, if not the best, linebacker in the sport, goes sideline to sideline, is a true leader out there. And when you go back to that offense, when they acquired Christian McCaffrey, and I'll steal this from someone, I forget who said this,
I'll take credit
a month and a half ago. You take credit for it. Absolutely.
If it's good. If it's a good point.
I think it's a great take. Christian McCaffrey is a great running back who could also be a wide receiver. And Deebo Samuel is a great wide receiver who could also be a great running back.
You know what?
That's how much versatility they have.
I might have actually said something because I'll take it back. I'm not trying to steal credit like I was about 30 seconds ago. I actually think you might be referencing something I said. And the point was Deebo Samuel again is an elite pass catcher who can also run the ball, and then you also acquire a guy who's an elite runner who can also catch the ball. So very similar like thing where it's like you have two of the best versatile players at that particular position, like at most versatile wide receiver and probably most versatile running back. And it's like that. And the point is it was Jimmy G protection, meaning obviously not to block, but to, give him the maximum amount of opportunity to succeed. And forget Jimmy G. I mean, this is what's happening with Brock Purdy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of makes, which obviously I would like to push the agenda of Tom Brady going to the 49ers next year. But I mean, if Brock Purdy keeps playing the way he's doing, they're probably going to make the mistake a third time. Like, look, I'm looking at Brock Purdy and I say this is a great run, and this is something that would be exciting if the 49ers go on, but I'm not banking on any sort of, long-term future. We've seen this a lot where it's like someone comes on the scene, you finally get some tape on him the next year, and it's like, okay, we understand why he's a late round pick. I mean, not everyone's Tom Brady, but so like I'm thinking, well, maybe they catch lightning in a bottle. The problem with that, John, is that I think might screw up their thinking, oh, he just won us the Super Bowl, kind of like the Nick Foles thing. It's like, oh, Nick Foles just won us the Super Bowl. He can be our franchise No, he can't. Like, I understand he had a great run. Don't get me wrong, but he's not a long-term franchise quarterback. And I think, again, that could be a mistake waiting for the 49ers, especially if they don't actually win the Super Bowl. Like, say Brock Purdy takes them to the Super Bowl, John, which is very possible because, again, he's playing well, and we've already listed all the things great about that team around him. In the offseason, they're obviously going to be like, say Tom's like, hey, I want to come play for you guys. I want to come win you a Super Bowl. What are they going to do? Like, I know it's not an easy question. I mean, to me, it's an easy question. Let's put it that way. It's an easy answer, rather. You sign Tom Brady. Again, I think that elevates this 49ers team to potential Super Bowl champion to eventual Super Bowl champion. You know what I mean? If they have a great run this season, it may force them into making another crucial mistake, and that is passing on Tom Brady for a third time.
What could happen, and I don't think this is all that far-fetched, he gets them to the Super Bowl, Brock Purdy, and he's playing either Buffalo, Cincinnati, Kansas City. It's in the fourth quarter. It's a close game, and he can't make the big throw, but Mahomes, Burrow, or Josh Allen can make the big throw, and the AFC representative wins the Super Bowl. It sounds a lot like the 49ers 3 seasons ago. Right, when they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter and Jimmy G could make the big throw. Mahomes did make the big throws in the fourth quarter, and Kansas City wins. And at that point, do you want to upgrade at quarterback? I mean, yeah, your quarterback room next year could be Brady as the starter, obviously. Purdy as kind of the backup guy who's there to continue to develop. And you still have Trey Lance, and it would be his third season of sitting on the bench as he's coming back from an injury. That's a pretty talented quarterback room. Now, obviously, the 49ers at some point are going to have to start paying some of these players. Obviously, they paid Deebo Samuel in the offseason. McCaffrey's up for a new contract. Bosa's up for a massive deal, right? Yeah. I mean, if he wins Defensive Player of the Year, he's looking at $24, $25 million a year or thereabouts. So that's how you kind of factor in. I mean, when you have Trey Lance and Brock Purdy as your two quarterbacks, you have plenty of money to spend elsewhere at that point. Not that Brady is the highest paid quarterback, but I hope he doesn't go anywhere for less than what he's been getting in Tampa, which is about $25 million a year, unless he just says, give me $10 million a year because I want to win Super Bowl number 8 and I'll do it in my hometown. So yeah, there's a lot of play there. And I said a few weeks ago, I wouldn't be shocked if San Francisco ran the table regular season through the playoffs. I think they have the best roster in football top to bottom. Mm-hmm. And again, the problem is the quarterback. To me, there's 6 teams that can win the Super Bowl this year. Maybe there's an outlier that surprises us, but it's Philadelphia, Dallas, and San Francisco. And then the AFC, it's Cincinnati, Kansas City, and Buffalo. Well, the AFC has 3 great young quarterbacks. I think Dak's a really good quarterback. Jalen Hurts is going to be the MVP. And, oh, by the way, here's Brock Purdy, who's, the Mr. Irrelevant. So at that point, San Francisco's trying to catch up to those other 5 teams, which they can do because of that elite talent. You talked about that offense, and the more I think of McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, it almost feels like they have vintage Marshall Faulk and Hines Ward.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? I mean, like Marshall Faulk was a guy who was the same as McCaffrey, actually a little bit better. And Deebo Samuel reminds me a lot of times more the tough-minded, physical wide receiver who you could do a lot with. I mean, Tom Brady must look at that roster and go, holy crap. And, oh, by the way, I've got another great tight end and George Kittle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that team is just loaded.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, you're sitting there like, you know, obviously we're projecting. We're not assuming that he's going to go. I mean, it may turn out that his only option is Tampa, you know. But looking at that 49ers roster, it's hard not to, if you're Brady, sit there and salivate thinking that could be, you know, where he plays the next couple of years or whatever. So, all right, before we get to our picks, I do want to bring up the because you did mention Jalen Hurts, and I do like to try to prop him up a little bit because apparently now, according to Micah Parsons, the you know, him succeeding is more about apparently the talent around him than opposed to the actual quarterback. And you know, this is something that we've heard in various iterations since we've been watching football. You know, oh, this guy is better because of the people around him. No, he's better because he's better. Okay, like there's plenty of talent in the NHL or NHL. I'm looking over the screen right now, seeing hockey highlights. There's plenty of talent in the NFL. This isn't like we talk about the 49ers. Yeah, they have a better roster than the Houston Texans, no doubt about it. But when it comes to playoff teams and the teams that are having winning records and stuff like that, the difference isn't astronomical. It's not how people want to portray it. So in terms of like help and these quote unquote super teams, I mean, all those terms, all those like snappy little one-liners are all used to basically diminish the person you're talking about. And that's the only reason to do it because I find it ironic, John, that this rallying cry, this point by Micah Parsons is being echoed the loudest by Kansas City Chiefs fans. Yes, I know, right? Kansas City Chiefs fans are the ones talking about. Now, granted, there's a reason for that. Jalen Hurts has threatened Mahomes' MVP candidacy, and if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, you want Mahomes to win the MVP. I get it. So you're gonna latch on to whatever talk there is, but the reality of it is, the last team in the world, the last fan base in the world that should be talking about having help is the Mahomes fan base. Because, I mean, we've talked about it before on the show. Like, talk about the perfect situation to come into as a quarterback. I mean, people have knocked Tom Brady. Oh, he had Bill Belichick, this, that, and the other. The Patriots were 5-11 the year before he took over. Belichick, again, for as great as he is, and I think he's the greatest, if not the, or one of the greatest, if not the greatest. You know, he has a losing record without Brady. Now, that's not a knock on him. I mean, coaches across the entire history of the league have struggled without elite quarterbacks, with very few exceptions. Andy Reid has had a lot of success with a lot of different teams. That Chiefs team had been the defending AFC West champions. They had been to the playoffs. They are an 11-win team with Alex Smith. And they had, obviously, a whole hell of a lot of talent. So, you know, this idea that talent is propping up quarterbacks, for bad quarterbacks, sure, but we know Jalen Hurts is not a bad quarterback. So I'm not going to look at his accomplishments and latch on to what Micah Parsons is saying. And that is, well, it's more about the talent around him. Well, of course, A.J. Brown helps. But if you don't execute, John, it doesn't really matter who your quarterback is. You know what I mean? Like, we're giving Brock Purdy credit in San Francisco because he deserves credit. Now, did he land softly with this 49ers offense? Absolutely. But he still has to execute. Like, just because those players exist doesn't mean that he's capable of taking a snap under center and making the right decision. Same goes with Jalen Hurts. He's making the right decisions. I don't care who's on your team, who's catching passes. That's what you have to deal with, and that's how he's handling it. So I just kind of thought the whole notion of Hurts being propped up by the players around him, that's just kind of a pot shot. And again, it's usually used by people trying to drag him down in whatever conversation, whether it's being in the MVP race or being the best quarterback in the league or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, someone should ask A.J. Brown what he thinks of Jalen Hurts, right? A.J. Brown was good in Tennessee. He's been even better in Philadelphia. I would take Jalen Hurts over Ryan Tannehill, 7 days a week, without question. He's a better quarterback, better leader, just a better all-around quarterback. The interesting thing is, and you bring up Mahomes, and look, I'm a Mahomes fan. I think he's sensational, but he went to the perfect situation. As you said, the year before he was drafted, or the year he sat on the bench, actually, they were 11-5. He played the final regular season game because Kansas City already clinched the division. So he sat behind Alex Smith, a total pro, like a perfect guy to learn how to play quarterback behind, right? Just a total pro leader, all of that great stuff. He was drafted into a winning organization by probably the best offensive mind in all of football, and Andy Reid. Got to sit for 1 year, learn from Alex Smith, and he had a ready-made team with, I don't know, Tyreek Hill, who's probably the most explosive weapon in all of football, and Travis Kelce, who, whatever you want to say, is the best pass-catching tight end we may have ever seen, and it's just a great offensive system. So he was put into a really good situation. I mean, you want to compare that to David Carr, who was drafted in 2002 with the first overall pick going to an expansion team. Yeah, I mean, that's like the complete opposite end of what Patrick Mahomes dealt with in his start to his career in Kansas City. So, yeah, he went to a perfect situation. Yeah, in fact, let's not forget when Brady came in, the Patriots were 0-2 in 2001.
Now, granted, as you know, and Joel, our number one super fan, I got to get him a shirt or something like that. Points out, I mean, yes, the 2000 Patriots had talent, and this is obviously, like if you're like, that's the thing. Like, you can sit here and compare weapons to terrible teams, and you know, we're talking about the Houston Texans now, and in 2002, really things don't really change that much over 20 years, really. No. But yeah, you can sit there and say, yeah, obviously the Chiefs have a better roster, or obviously the Eagles have a better roster. But when you're succeeding and you're winning, it's not done by chance. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to eventually make that leap. And I think that's what happened with Jalen Hurts. And he makes that leap to become, you know, to start fulfilling that potential that he has, and we've seen kind of come out. And again, sometimes it happens a little bit quicker for others than it does some. I mean, sometimes it's opportunity. Like I said, I mean, Josh Allen was a raw talent, sure, but he also didn't come into the best situation. I believe they were a playoff team with Tyrod Taylor, but it was one of those, you know what I mean? It was like, yeah, they were a playoff team, but you know, I think they were 9-7 or 7-9 or so. I don't know.
They were 9-7, yeah. And they needed Cincinnati to beat Baltimore on the final game of the season. Remember that? And then everyone in Buffalo was donating to Andy Dalton's charity. It's a pretty cool story, actually. But yeah, he came into a decent situation. In fact, they took a step back in his rookie year. He was kind of in and out of the lineup, learning how to play. But I think the leap from Josh Allen's year 2 to year 3 is very similar to the leap in Jalen Hurts' year 2 to year 3 seasons. Yeah. Like, now he's a bona fide MVP candidate. Go back 2 seasons ago, so was Josh Allen, right? So I think they're very similar quarterbacks. You think of them more as running quarterbacks, but they've really worked their butts off to become really good passers. Normally, when a guy's not an accurate guy coming into the NFL, they just assume he's never going to become an accurate passer. Well, Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts have fought back against that theory.
Well, speaking of Jalen Hurts, I think he's just a really good decision maker, and that's half the battle. If you can make the right decision, well, you can fine tune your accuracy or your timing and things like that. Like, if you're naturally inaccurate, you're never gonna be accurate. But like, I think you can fine tune it. Yeah, does that make sense? Like, you can't learn accuracy, in my opinion. Like, you can like, you could be mechanic. Like, your accuracy could be off because of your footwork. And that's something that you can fix. If your footwork's great and you're just inaccurate, well, you're not going to become accurate overnight, and you're not going to train. You know what I mean? That's just not going to happen. So anyways, we'll see what happens. Obviously, 12-1 Eagles. Like I said, I think Jalen Hurts is the favorite for MVP. It's a really close race right now. In really each week could sway the voters one way or the other. It just kind of depends on how it plays out. But I do think he is the current MVP favorite. So, all right, let's get to our picks for the week, because we got quite a bit of games, and they start tomorrow, John. Tomorrow. It's got to remember that, a little Saturday football. I basically like extra football on any day but Thursday. You know what I mean? Like, it really, like, Saturday, I get why they don't do it regularly because of college football and all that. But I've always been a proponent proponent of Sunday and then maybe a doubleheader on Monday, and that's fine with me. So with the occasional Saturday game is always fun. It's nice to kind of have that little break in the routine and be like, oh, we get football on Saturday. So speaking of Saturday, Jeff Saturday in the Indianapolis Colts, you like that segue? Head to Minnesota this Saturday to take on the Vikings, who are coming off what I thought, and I believe you agreed with me, was going to be a very predictable loss against the Lions. I think they get back on track, the Vikings, this week, but it's not going to be an easy feat. I think their confidence may be shook a little bit, John. And I like to see them respond well. If you're a Vikings fan, you want to see them come out and dominate a Colts team. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think they'll pick up the win, but I think Indy's going to give them everything they could possibly ask for.
Feels like a field goal game, right? Which Minnesota is really good at winning this season, right? And the thing is, I thought Detroit would beat Minnesota last week because, quite frankly, the Lions are the best team in the NFC Central right now. They just are. I mean, I know their record 6-7.
2001.
Oh man, holy crap! That's the second time I've done this year. Yeah, I'm waiting for Warren Sapp and Tampa to play Green Bay in the same division.
Yeah, the Patriots and Colts are going to square off twice in the AFC East next year.
And Seattle's in the AFC and Tampa's in the So, but yeah, the NFC North. You know, sometimes my age starts to show. I get it. But I think Detroit's the best team in that division right now, without question. I mean, they've won 5 out of 6.
Is phenomenal.
Last 6 weeks, Jared Goff's played the quarterback position pretty much as well as anyone in the league. But that was predictable. I just don't know if Indianapolis has the weapons or the quarterback that can stand upright to take advantage of Minnesota's shortcomings on defense. So I think it feels like a field goal game, which is like everything Minnesota's done this year, a lot of close games, but they'll find a way to win at home.
Yeah, I could not agree with you anymore. So next we have Cleveland hosting Baltimore. Baltimore's obviously banged up at the quarterback position. I know Tyler Huntley got cleared from concussion protocol. I'm not quite sure what the latest is on Lamar Jackson, but I'm assuming he's obviously not going to be out there. I think Cleveland's going to pick up their first win under Deshaun, or first real good game under Deshaun Watson. Obviously they beat Houston, but that was not a struggle. I think they come out and perform pretty well. I mean, I'm not rooting for the guy, but against the Baltimore team, who is really kind of teetering here late in the season, I think Cleveland takes advantage at home. So give me the Browns.
Yeah, I like the Browns. I think their defense is playing at a high level. Baltimore has just been slogging to these ugly wins. They're wins. They're 9-4. They're going to most likely make the playoffs. You get Lamar Jackson back maybe in a couple of weeks, so you just try to hold the fort at this point. But yeah, I like Cleveland in this game. Next,
Buffalo is hosting Miami, and apparently going to be a lot of snow, which is going to be great because we missed out on that before. But if this was a couple weeks ago, I would have seriously considered looking at Miami as a potential another upset over the Bills, but they haven't played great football the last couple of weeks against some pretty good teams, and that's alarming, especially when it comes to them struggling on offense. Like if they struggle on defense, that's one thing, but you always have that offense to kind of bail you out. But the offense just hasn't been there. Tua has not played great the last couple of weeks, so I don't like their chances at all going to Buffalo. So give me the Bills.
Two in a cold weather site in the snow against the Buffalo defense.
In Alabama, according to Tua.
Yes, we heard about that. Yep, exactly. We did. There was none in Hawaii where he grew up, so I don't know if he's seen much snow at all. And the thing is, this is the third straight road game for Miami, San Francisco to LA. Now you go back home, and then you travel up to Buffalo, where the weather is always a factor at this time of year. I love the Bills in this game. I think they're going to get their offense right and win handily. I would think in a similar fashion the way San Francisco took care of business against Miami 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, just just a pretty easy chalk it up win. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Next, Houston is hosting Kansas City. Kansas City is going to win this game. What I'm watching for, what I'm looking for is if I were a Chiefs fan, I'm obviously not, but if I were a Chiefs fan, you want to see consistency on offense, because the same issues that we've seen really consistently over the last few years are still there. And those issues being the offense, as great as it can be fairly putrid, to say the least. And that has nearly cost them quite dearly in the playoffs. Fortunately, like I've mentioned, having the Houston Texans in the playoffs was a nice landing spot. This is not the playoffs, and this is not your Bill O'Brien Texans team, folks. It's actually worse, and that's tough for me to say. So I don't like Houston's chances at all. You're just really want to see if Kansas City can go quarters 1 through 4 pretty efficiently on offense.
Yeah, I think that's what they're exactly looking for. Put up 35, 38 points and take care of business. And I would expect that because they really haven't had a game like that. Now, last week they were up 27-0 against Denver, and they let them back in the game. Denver had an opportunity to maybe steal that one, but I think they'll take care of business against the worst team in football. I mean, they're just headed for that first overall pick.
Yep. Detroit at is there another car coming in the wings? Maybe they can draft to their a Derek or Devin car. Is there a Devin car? A Daniel car?
Yeah, must be one of those families that all the kids are named with the same D, first letter. Like like Roger Clemens' kids are all named with the letter K.
Yeah.
Kobe and whatever else he named them.
Hey, it makes sense. It makes it easy to keep track of, and it takes a lot of the decision making out of it, I guess. So
yes.
Now that I think about it, my mom's name is Denise. Her biological father's name was Dennis. Her sister is Dawn. So I guess that there you go. Yeah, there you go. Anyways, moving on. Detroit at the Jets. Again, we just talked about Detroit. I think we both like Detroit quite a bit. The Jets have faltered here a little bit. Obviously, the quarterback situation is questionable, although Mike White does say he plans on being there. He's going to do everything he can. I like Detroit on the road. I think they're going to keep rolling here. So give me the Lions.
I'm going to go with the Jets. Their defense should be able to contain Detroit, especially Detroit on the road in weather conditions. That's something they're not really good at. So I like the Jets in this matchup. And it's weird with Mike White. He plays well. He seems to be a good leader. His teammates like him, but they never win with him. I mean, they're 1-2 in his start. Somehow Zach Wilson, who can't do anything right, is 5-2 in his starts. It's just weird. But I do like the Jets in this. And who would thought that, before the season started, that Detroit Jets Week 15 would be one of the most interesting games coming up. But I'll go with the Jets.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It's a weird time we live in. Next, we have what I think is a very intriguing matchup, and that is Dallas at Jacksonville. And John, this is my upset special of the week. I think Jacksonville wins.
Mm-hmm.
They've played extraordinarily well. Most specifically, Trevor Lawrence has been great his last 4 or 5 weeks. And Dallas, on the flip side, they won last week. But, I mean, Dak has not been great. He's been good. But it doesn't really extend beyond that. And, he certainly didn't play well in the victory last week. I think Jacksonville takes advantage of that because there's been nothing I've seen since Dak came back from injury to suggest that he's not going to turn the ball over. He seems to be good for at least one of these boneheaded turnovers a game, sometimes 2. And I think Jacksonville's a team that's going to take advantage of that. So upset special at home, Jacksonville over the Cowboys.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence has looked like a franchise quarterback the last 5 or 6 weeks. See what coaching can do. They've upgraded the talent around him. They're a pretty good squad. They may be in the best position to win that division, the AFC South, for several years because they're really buttoned up at that quarterback position, and they continue to draft well. But I'll go with Dallas because I think their pass rush and their secondary may be able to create some turnovers, and that could flip the game. So I'll take the Cowboys as they travel to Florida. Although you can make a case that Jacksonville's playing better than any other team in Florida right now, including Tampa and Miami.
No, you can very easily make that case. Anyways, going to the intriguing NFC South, big battle in the NFC South. Atlanta heads to New Orleans. I like the Falcons in this one. I think they're just playing a little bit better football, but I jokingly say the intriguing NFC South, but it's not really a joke. It's more to mask my discomfort in watching this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team and Tom Brady try to scratch and claw their way to a division title that isn't guaranteed at this point, which is crazy to think. But Atlanta and New Orleans are going to go at it in New Orleans, and I like the Falcons.
I'll take New Orleans, the changing quarterbacks, and Atlanta, going with Desmond Ridder, who's a young quarterback who played at Cincinnati last year in college football, and they want to take a look at him. And also Marcus Mariota dealing with some knee issues. So change a quarterback, who the hell knows what impact that's going to have on the Falcons. I'll take New Orleans at home. These teams always seem to play these crazy games with the home team finding a way to win. So I'll go with Atlanta.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of
I'll go with New Orleans. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, you're throwing me off here.
Yeah.
All right, next we have Pittsburgh at Carolina, another NFC South competitor. I like Pittsburgh in this one. Again, defense has been playing really well, and I'll go with the Steelers. I mean, again, this isn't much. This doesn't have much intrigue at this late in the season, but one of these teams has to win, I guess, unless they tie.
Yeah, that does look like a game that could tie, right? Without question. But I'll take Pittsburgh. That defense will be the best unit on the field that day. So when that's the case with two middling teams, that's generally a decent way to prognosticate. I'll take Pittsburgh.
Philadelphia at Chicago, the Eagles. That's it. The Eagles.
That sounds about right.
That's my hard-hitting analysis there. The Eagles, they're better than the Bears. The Eagles and the Bears. I'll take Philadelphia. New England at Las Vegas. What to make of these Patriots, I really don't know. They had me high one week, and then it's kind of back to earth the next. They're coming off a pretty big win against the Cardinals, again, without Kyler Murray. Yeah, of course. But just to see this team do well on both sides of the ball is obviously a victory. And they have an opportunity, John. They're still in this playoff race, so they have something to play for, as does Las Vegas. So I think you're going to get, hopefully, the best of both. Look, I'm going to go with the Patriots. I think it's going to be a close game. It might be a field goal game. And obviously, a lot of talk will be about Belichick and Josh McDaniels. But I like I think Mac Jones has very quietly played some really good football the last 3 or 4 weeks, and not just the careful football. He's been aggressive, and they've succeeded in that. So I like them to continue that against an okay Raiders defense.
Yeah, absolutely. The Raiders defense is kind of built to have a big lead and hold on with a pass rush, and they've managed to lose 4 games this year when they had 13 or more point leads in the second half, which, if you even win 3 of those games, now you're 8-5 and right in playoff contention. I like the Raiders. The Patriots have a short week, Monday night in Arizona, spent the week in Arizona, now going to Vegas, whereas the Raiders played the previous Thursday, so they have a little extra time to prepare. And we know that Belichick's disciples do pretty well against him. Josh McDaniels beat him in 2009. Matt Patricia beat him a decade later when he was head coach in Detroit. Mangini had some wins over Belichick. So his disciples have a way of giving the Patriots trouble, and I think the Raiders will find a way to win. But this is, again, like you said, Ian, this looks like a field goal game that, we'll talk about the next day and have plenty of plays to analyze and overanalyze.
Yeah, I'm thinking I just had an Obi-Wan moment where it's like, that's a name I have not heard for a very long time when you said Eric Mangini. Anyways,
Manginius, according to Tony Soprano, yeah.
Manginius. That's funny. Arizona at Denver. Arizona. I mean, I don't know. This is a toss. Pick them. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't think Denver's going to play as well as they did last week. But Arizona is going to be, I believe, Colt McCoy is the starter. Over for the foreseeable future, unless they make some other change at quarterback. But I like Arizona in this. I just, again, Denver might give them fits on defense, with their defense, but I think ultimately their offense is going to do more than Denver. So Cardinals.
This looked like a really good matchup before the season, right? Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, and all sorts of offense, and Murray's out, and Wilson's coming back from,
he might as well be out.
A concussion. Yeah, I mean, he got nailed on Sunday against Kansas City. And these are the 2 coaches most likely to get fired in the offseason, right? Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona and Nathaniel Hackett in Denver. So, maybe they're fighting to keep their jobs, although I think the organizations have probably already decided they're going to move on from those 2 coaches. I'll just take Denver. They're at home. And again, Colt McCoy, a nice backup quarterback, but this is literally a flip of a coin. I'll take Denver.
Next, we have the Chargers hosting the Tennessee Titans, and one team is up, one team is down. And if you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have assumed it would have been the Chargers that were down and the Titans that were up. But alas, it is the exact opposite. The Chargers are coming off a pretty big win, and the Titans have really been sputtering here the last few weeks. So I like the Chargers at home. Question mark. I'm never going to call it home. You know what I mean? It's the stadium they happen to play the majority of their games in. Let's just put it that way. So give me the Chargers.
I'll take the Chargers here too. Better quarterback in Justin Herbert. They're finding ways to win. They're getting a little healthier on offense. So I think that will put them over the top. And I think there's probably only a handful of franchises that when they go to LA to play the Chargers that won't dominate the crowd. And Tennessee's probably one of them. I don't think Tennessee has like a great following nationally. I mean, they're the former Houston Oilers. Maybe people will go from Texas that are still Titans fans will travel to LA for the game. Normally you see the Packers or the Steelers or the Patriots going to play the Chargers, obviously the Cowboys more than anyone, or the Raiders, and they dominate the crowd. But yeah, give me the better quarterback. Justin Herbert's better than Ryan Tannehill. Give me the Chargers.
All right, next we have Cincinnati at Tampa Bay, another matchup that seemed far more intriguing earlier in the season, although it still has plenty of intrigue looking at it. But look, I mean, I have no good reason other than a hope and a prayer to pick the Buccaneers. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm picking the Buccaneers. I've no good reason. Everything tells me to pick the Bengals. And everything is probably going to be right because the Bengals are probably going to win this game. But I got a hope, right, John? I got a hope that Brady in this offense finally figures it out. I don't care if they figure it out in week 17 or week 18, whatever the hell it is now. Week 18, I don't care as long as they figure it out before that first playoff game. I don't know, and this would be a great time to do it against the defending AFC champion Bengals. So I'll take the Buccaneers, and boy, do I have no confidence in that pick.
I'm going to go with baby Brady over Brady. Burrow plays the position the most like Tom Brady. I'm interested to see their embrace after the game, and I'm sure they'll have one. And I'm sure Brady kind of looks across the field and said, that guy reminds me of someone a little bit. Just a little bit, and he probably is a fan of Joe Burrow. Will be more so once he retires because I don't think he's really a fan of opposing quarterbacks. That's what makes him as great as he is. I'll take Cincinnati. They're playing so well, but you might be right, Ian, in the fact that this is the NFL. Cincinnati's won 9 of 11. They look tremendous. They look like they could go back to the Super Bowl. They're going against a wounded Tampa team that can't get out of its own way, and that does seem right for a potential upset. But I'll stick with the Bengals, who I think are just playing very, very good football right now.
Next, we have, on Sunday Night Football, the Giants heading to Washington. Last game was Sunday. I like Washington. They've been playing some really good football, very quietly playing some really good football. And the Giants, we've talked about quite a bit. They are not what they were at the beginning of the season, and I don't, I think it'll be competitive because these NFC East teams or NFC East games are always competitive. But I like Washington fairly comfortably.
Yeah, and they had a bye week too, so they've got that advantage over the Giants. The Giants lost last week, got mauled by the Eagles. So I'll take Washington in this, and that would really secure third place for Washington and really put them in good position to qualify for the playoffs, which to me is a major surprise. That's why I think Ron Rivera deserves serious consideration for NFL Coach of the Year when you consider changing quarterbacks and then working for the most vile owner in the sport who everyone wants out. He's done a fantastic job. So I'll take Washington.
Yeah, like I think those are a lot of factors that should be considered, but won't. You know what I mean? Like we know that those things don't get considered, unfortunately, although they should, because I think it gives more, a little bit more definition to Coach of the Year. But we'll see. So, anyways, Monday Night Football, you have Green Bay hosting the Rams, and we're gonna save that for Monday because we got to talk about something, right? And could it be the, Aaron Rodgers having a big day against the Rams? So that's going to do it for us here today. Be sure to tune in on Sunday with myself and Braden, who do host the Full Press NFL Sunday show. We will be live at 10:30, previewing all of Sunday's games and talking about, obviously, some of what happened on Saturday. But Until Monday, you'll have to wait to see John and me. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will talk to you then. Have a great weekend.